Hello there, in sunny and slightly sweaty Cancun. This is the last day of our holiday. Now, Cancun has a great many potential places to go, excursions, literally thousands of them. It will take you forever just to scroll through and select which ones. We did two trips today. We didn't do the old Chichen Itzu, or Chicken Itzu as I want to keep calling it, but it's not called that. We did two trips out. One of them was to Tulum, which is in the south. That's the Mayan ruins. That also includes a tour around some cenotes, which is the underground caves and waterholes. The second trip we did out was to Los Colorados, which is in the north. This was said to be the Pink Sea. It's not really a sea, but we'll get on to that. Some interesting experiences, so let's see about these days out from Cancun to these two destinations. We opted for the Tulum and cenotes tour because it seemed like the best of both worlds, a little bit of history and culture and a little bit of excitement and nature. There is plenty of potential to do other versions. There are so many different combinations offered by different companies. We did this through a company called Dive It, but via Viator through our own money. I was a little apprehensive about this trip, not so much the Tulum side of things, but the cenotes. I am not a very strong swimmer and I get pretty claustrophobic, very claustrophobic, and I thought I would panic. Things are fine, we'll come on to that, but I thought, what the hell, let's give it a go. So we booked it. Tulum is about 2.5 hours south of Cancun. And once you get there, you are dropped off in the village. They give you the choice of either staying in the village for free or paying the dreaded extra for a tour or a tour entrance. They do offer a tour as well, but to get into Tulum sites itself, I would definitely recommend going to the sites, as the alternative is spending 90 minutes walking around Tulum Marketplace. As you can see from these videos, it's just sort of bog standard tourist marketplace. Lots of hawkers, people asking if you want food, drink, lots of shops, souvenirs, everything obviously priced accordingly or disaccordingly or however accordingly you want it. A few unpleasant things, a couple of people with monkeys and iguanas offering to take pictures with them, those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, it was bad enough sort of spending 90 seconds walking around here, let alone 90 minutes. So, yeah, I would actually go to the ruins 100%. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to be in for a bit of a boring time at this stop. Although make sure you use the facilities at this gift shop whilst perusing the usual sort of stuff you can buy, from tequila to Mexican death masks all the way through to usual Tulum t-shirts. They have the toilet here. It's free, so use it when you can, because there's not a huge amount of facilities as you go into the park. Now, you have to pass through security, quick bag check or whatever, and then it's I would say maybe a 10-15 minute stroll along the road to get to the ruins. You then come to another ticket barrier where you finally get access to the park, and there's another 10-minute stroll before you get around to the ruins. It's worth mentioning as an aside, we went in the middle of August, so it was 30, 34, 35 degrees and sweltering. So if you go in that time of year, make sure you take a hat and plenty of suntan lotion. Anyway, so the park's fairly big. It's quite open and quite sparse. You'll see here there's a selection of different ruins within the inner section of the site. The real good stuff is the ruins and the citadels and all that stuff overlooking the coast. I think those are some of the most stunning images. You have the Mayan ruins with that Caribbean Sea backdrop with the lovely turquoise water. I think it's some of the most iconic stuff I think I've been able to fortunate enough to see. It's a bit of a trek. There's some stairs there, so if you're either a little bit immobile, it might be difficult. Another thing to keep an eye out is the friendly wildlife. There's iguanas everywhere, especially if you're not paying attention, as I wasn't here and nearly stood on a couple of them, but they didn't do anything. So they're pretty passive. I wouldn't worry too much, really, but it's more so upsetting them or stressing them out. So there you have it. It's basically a circular route. So you come out to the entrance and then you walk back to the village and you head off to step two, which is the cenotes. But that first part was a good way to spend a morning, a nice bit of history and some good views to take in. So from Tulum, it's only a few minutes, probably a 5 minute drive to Casa Tortuga Park, which is where the cenotes are. So I said earlier I was a little bit apprehensive about this part of the tour. This was exacerbated in the minibus when they hand over a legal waiver, obviously signing of your life. But anyway, it transpires that they're perfectly safe. In fact, they asked everybody if anybody could swim, and there are even people who couldn't swim on the tour. So I wouldn't get too worried. Firstly, the wearing of life jackets or belts, you have the choice, is mandatory. So while the cenotes are quite deep in places, you're always buoyant, which is good for the peace of mind. And anyone who can't swim and was worried about potentially drowning, there's at least three or four guides on the tours, I believe, and they have one of those rings that you get in yachts or boats, those are life rings. So anyone that can't swim or is a bit nervous, they just put that in, you hold on to that, and then they kind of just swim you through. So it's perfectly safe. And in terms of the claustrophobia, it does look a little bit tight in places, and it is a little bit tight. And perhaps with a lot of people around, you might get nervous, but you're never that far from an entrance or an exit. Also worth noting is that before you go into the cenotes, they insist you have a shower, wash off all the sunscreen and bug spray. Totally understandable because that's how they preserve the water. That does mean, however, walking between the cenotes, you are exposed to the sun and bugs. The company has its own lockers, and it's basically a quick walk between cenotes. So no need to worry about logistics. It's all taken care of. They just bring a little bag with them where you put your sandals in, and you're good to go. But if you are gonna head off, just take either your phone or your camera with a waterproof case. Obviously, that's all you really need. And as for the cenotes themselves, you usually get in similar to how you would on a swimming pool. They have some sort of stairs, most of them, fairly wooden, rickety stairs, but stairs nonetheless. You can jump into a couple of them. They recommend that actually to acclimatize your body a lot faster than getting in. The water is a little bit chilly, but coming from the blistering heat, it was actually quite pleasant dip. It's pretty much just a guided tour. The cenotes aren't particularly long, so perhaps I want to say maybe 50 meters or something. So, no, if you've got the idea that you're somehow going like cave diving, or got to put your head under the water and swim 20 meters to get to the next cave or something, it's nothing like that at all. It's all very safe, all very secure. There is so many great views there. The all the stalagmites, just the carvings, the contrast between the cave and when you see the outside. It's really good, fantastic. And I would just say enjoy it, soak it up, take it in because it's absolutely. I've never actually had something like that before. I've been to caves, but having the chance to swim through them was something really special. So definitely make the most of it. This was, I'm going to say, it was the highlight of the tour. Something I've never done before, and something I'd love to do again. So we went through two underground cenotes. I think it's like I said three on the tour, but we did two anyway. And after that, they take you to one of the sinkholes, which is very similar to a swimming pool, a big natural open air swimming pool. They do say you can take your life jackets off for this part. I'd probably recommend keeping it on. It's a little bit slippery underfoot there, and it's quite deep. So it just gives you that peace of mind, certainly if you're not a confident swimmer. There is another section to the left that was a little bit quieter if you wanted somewhere more peaceful to just have a dip. Also, if you're feeling adventurous, they've got a few, like I don't know, three or four ledges in various heights that you can jump into. As you'll see from these pictures, there were some braver people than I, braver children than me, even jumping off the big one. So, if you like a little bit more excitement on your trips, then take the plunge. So once you've had your fun and frolics in the sinkhole, you go back, get dried, changed, and it's then lunchtime. Pretty standard fare, four tacos each. You get a choice of different meats, vegetarian option. It was fine, nothing too bad, nothing too great. One last stop is a couple of doors down from the company's base is a little tequila stand where they will give you some shots of tequila, flavored tequila, and so on, in the desperate attempt to get you to buy it. I don't like tequila. I don't think anyone else particularly liked tequila, but she seemed like a nice woman, so fair play to them. Anyway, so that was a day trip. We went to Tulum and the cenotes. Now, The next day trip is an interesting contrast. This is Los Colorados. This was a 7 o'clock in the morning pickup from our hotel. We then drove at least an hour and 15 minutes to I think it was Playa de Carmen. I kind of lost my bearings a little bit as I was still a little bit groggy. And then we got ferried onto a larger bus. And then there was the 3.5 hour drive to Las Coloradas. The lake itself, it says it's a pink sea. It's not a pink sea, it's a salt lake in a commercial salt factory. Now, that's all well and good. And in fairness to it, it is stunning. But some of the literature you'll find in these tours are a little bit misleading. It does kind of suggest it's the sea when it's not. Anyway, you pull up, walk through a little entrance, and you just walk up to the lake. You can't go around the whole of the lake, only sort of half of it, but there's a few good spots there, and the further along you go, the pinker it gets. It does also alter depending on the daylight, the cloud coverage, and a few other factors. There are some props and vantage points along the lake, the signs, a little Mayan temple, and a little sort of love heart thingy you for the old Instagram people. Good luck to them. There is also a big salt hill that you can get up and has some great views of the lake. Keep an eye out for the pink flamingos as well. Wasn't that many of them there, but they're still good fun. Anyway, as you'll see from the pictures and the videos, I thought it was, despite the fact it's a man-made or commercial venture, it was very pretty. I can't deny it, and definitely something I would consider if you were a lot closer. Probably not worth a 3.5 hour drive. In fact, really, this is not too dissimilar to the salt lagoons we saw in Ibiza, which are derelict, but still had plenty of pink and salt in them. Okay, once you've finished at Las Colorados, you get back on the bus and drive maybe 10 minutes down to Rio Lagatos. This is where they drop you off, take you down to these boats, lovely boats they are. 6 people per boat, life jackets are mandatory, and then you head off down the river. This is a bit of a mixture of excitement because they do crank up the speed on in parts of the tour. There's also wildlife and some spa treatment as well thrown in, so a good mixture. But the first thing we saw was this crocodile, little baby crocodile. It was the only crocodile we saw, and the guys seemed to be quite happy to stick their hands in the water and splash around, which kind of gave me the impression there weren't many other crocodiles potentially in the vicinity. Anyway, it was quite a cute little thing to see. Then it just slinkered off after coming out to show off to the tourists. Head along to the lagoony part where there's a lagoony. It sounds like a sequel to the Goonies. Lagoon, where the pink flamingos are. Not a huge amount of them, but they were still quite pretty. A couple of them were fully rich pink colour, flapping their wings and so on. They then have a little fly past with the birds, pelicans and herons and so on. That was fun. They came quite close and personal, which was good. And then the next bit was actually really fun. Was the Mayan mud bath? They park you up on the banks. You then plaster yourself in mud, get back on the boat, let it dry off as they take you maybe 15, 20 minutes down to the sea, and then you get to wash it off. Now, I was a bit of a cynic when it came to this. I was like, yeah, it sounds like a bit of fun, something for the tourists. But I swear, like 2 days after, within 48 hours, my skin was so soft. It's a real work. It really works. I'm telling you this. So maybe I'm a convert to mud baths, but yeah, the getting in and washing it all off was quite exhilarating. So I'm going to say this was a great fun thing to do. Yeah, I mean, apart from the mud bath, you probably see most of these animals and get similar experience elsewhere in the world. But as you're driven at least 3.5, 4.5 hours to get here, you may as well enjoy it. After lunch, you then head to the final stop on this tour, which is the crocodile farm. Not a huge amount to say about this. They bring out some baby and adolescent crocodiles you can hold. They tape up the mouths of some of them. Yeah, a little bit cruel potentially, but you then go on to feed them if you so desire. We chose not to. Basically, poking them in the eye or the side of the mouth to get them to eat some chicken. Chicken feet, in fact. Yeah, I'm not overly keen on this, but after this, there was then a ridiculously long 6 hours drive home, which was just painful. So this was okay trip. I would probably do it if it was part of a multi-center trip, but in one day, I think it's probably not worth it. So there you have it. Those are the 2 day trips we did from Cancun. Let me know what your thoughts are. Any other recommendations for potentially the next time we go? Thanks.